and welcome back to Fantasy Entertainment. What I have here today is a little relic of the past. While cleaning out my great-grandma's house a few years ago, I picked out some things for myself. Half her kitchen stuff, that bright turquoise sectional I used to sit on in these videos, some cat pillows, and for my own amusement and possible future video fodder, the Mother's Encyclopedia 1952 printing in 6 volumes. That has now paid off when I recently remembered there were a few entries about music. So, for all you musicians out there who are wondering if you or your parents made the right decision in choosing your lifelong companion at such a young age, or if you're a parent who wants your child to learn music but don't know which instrument, don't fear. The Mother's Encyclopedia is here to help. With a little peanut gallery commentary from a modern me, who for context is an oboist with oboe as her first instrument. The following information comes from the entry titled Musical Instruments. It was written by Dr. M. Emmett Wilson, who at this point I'm assuming was a professor at Ohio State University. Most of the information is paraphrased, but if I did directly quote something, I indicate that with quotation marks. Musical Instruments by M. Emmett Wilson, Ph.D. General Advice. Consider the temperament of the child. Each instrument has a place in the music, and the characteristics of this music should match the child in order for them to have the most enjoyment and less time for mischief. To be fair, if your child is naturally rather active, all those long hours of practicing and sitting still in a chair probably wouldn't be very fun for them, even if they do play an easier instrument or a fast instrument like a flute. If you want them to still get in touch with music, I'd recommend theater or dance, and there's always sports too. Consider the physiological characteristics of the child. Hand size is often a good place to start. Can they physically play the instrument? Don't play a wind instrument while losing teeth or straightening teeth. I played through my 2 years of expander and braces just fine, but that's my experience. Know that every instrument has a unique set of ensembles where they are welcome. If your child wishes to be in the marching band, they shouldn't play the oboe. What? That's their example. It is entirely possible to change instruments later on, but few children do. Yep, you may add to your collection of instruments, but you never really forget your first. Consider how much practice is required to maintain a certain level of efficiency later in life. All instruments require practice, but some, such as the piano, do not require a high level of practice to keep playing for your own amusement. I guess that's true. I don't think I'm old enough to have that kind of perspective yet, though I'm still not quite back into pre-COVID shape, meaning I could probably barely play a musical, let alone a whole run, so there's definitely some weight to the whole you gotta keep practicing thing. Consider the cost of the instrument. You do not need to purchase a new instrument, especially to start out, though if your child continues, they will likely require an upgrade and will have enough knowledge to assist in purchasing a suitable replacement. This is still true, though for all of you wondering when you should switch to a professional instrument, I didn't buy my oboe until sophomore year of college. Yeah, I played my college auditions on the plastic student oboe I'd had since 6th or 7th grade. I'm not saying that was the right decision, but that was a decision. The instruments. The piano is the most popular choice for children. There is more interesting music written for the piano than for any other instrument. A pianist is very welcome, either as an accompanist for other instruments and vocalists, or alone in other social settings. It is easy to practice and maintain technique, and nearly all teachers of other instruments prefer their students have a background in piano first. The best age to begin piano is between 8 and 12. I don't think you necessarily have to start on piano, but I will say knowing which key was which pitch and just having a keyboard in my head made learning music theory a whole lot easier. And you can probably start learning younger than 8. The organ teaches the player about tonal qualities and variations. They can be rather expensive. However, they have become more affordable in recent years. I have nothing to add except I know no one whose first instrument was the organ. The violin should be learned the earlier the better. It is easier to learn at a younger age. They are the heart of an orchestra and have a wide breadth of literature in varying smaller ensembles. The violin does not require a large amount of technique, and players can easily find a welcome activity in chamber music. The finest musical literature in existence is for the string quartet. I think Dr. Wilson might be a string player. The viola should be mentioned here, but need not be discussed. Alright, so for context, the second half of that quote says most violas start on violin, so all that information applies to them anyway, but I really enjoyed that first part. The cello is a strange choice for a child, but for many reasons is a good instrument for a child to learn. It's easier to learn than violin. Cellists of lesser ability are welcomed because there are so few of them. They cost only a little more than a violin, and cellists play in all the better types of ensembles. Dr. Wilson is a biased classical music snob. Oh my goodness. The French horn and the oboe are rarely selected by young children. They can be rather expensive, at least $60, and oboes require a steady supply of reeds. They are also not easy to play, but the music written for them is not difficult or fast, and is good for a child of determination and even temperament, not a restless and fast-moving child. When played well, even the simplest melody is beautiful for both player and listener. Okay, first, I'm sorry to the French horn players that got lumped in with oboe. Second, I'm sorry to the bassoonists who did not even get a mention but would probably be in this section. Third, yes, my instrument cost at least $60 and reeds are a necessary evil side expense that you need to actually play the instrument. Fourth, I am convinced Dr. Wilson is a string player who has only played in an orchestra, because music for oboe, outside of the audible orchestral solos, can actually be pretty difficult and fast most of the time. You may think it's slow, but then the 128th notes really get you. And fifth, yes, it is hard, and I definitely wouldn't recommend this to a child who doesn't have a sense of discipline or is careful. Those reeds chip easily. The flute and the clarinet are easier to learn than the oboe and the French horn, and their music is usually fast. There is little expense in upkeep outside of clarinet reeds and repairs. There are no child-sized versions of wind instruments, unlike strings. I will say I'm still failing at getting a decent sound out of both of these instruments, though I am teaching myself. So context is important when we say that these are easy to learn. Brass instruments are appealing to children because they appear to be front and center in the marching band, which is true. Playing the trumpet, cornet, trombone, and lower brass instruments can put a child in a band or perhaps an orchestra. But no parent should make the mistake of thinking that these instruments have the same musical advantages for the child which the string or even the woodwind instruments have. I am so sorry, brass players, that you all got dissed by Dr. Wilson. Good advice in this section, though, is that the trumpet and the cornet are not the same instrument, and since my high school didn't have a marching band, I didn't learn that until college. I'm so sorry, I have to read this entire paragraph verbatim because I find some of it contradictory to my experiences and all of it hilarious. So please enjoy a dramatic reading of the saxophone. But the saxophones, what is one to say? They have no place in most orchestras, dominate the dance band, and have a limited demand in the marching band. They are very easy to learn to play and cost a considerable amount. Nevertheless, they are very popular with boys and even more popular with girls at certain ages. The saxophone comes in all sizes, from the little soprano to the big bass, but the best ones are the alto and tenor. Because of the many limitations, the only justification for studying a saxophone is the possibility of getting into a dance band. Otherwise, the saxophone is to be classed with the ukulele, mandolin, guitar, banjo, and mouth organ, which I'm taking to mean as showy and utterly useless in the world of classical and band music. I apologize to all my saxophone friends, especially to the saxophonist who taught me oboe for 7 years. There's no mention of singing, which I thought was rather odd, or percussion, so I guess those really weren't options back then. Alrighty, I'm hoping you enjoyed that as much as I did. I had thought about reading the whole thing word for word, but I didn't think I could have gotten very far without laughing. Plus I had too many interjections to just save for the end. Let me know in the comments how you chose your first instrument and or if you want me to do more readings through different entries of the encyclopedia. Like, subscribe, etc. This whole channel is just a creative outlet for me and I have no idea what I'm going to do next or when it's going to come out. Thanks for watching, see you next time, and remember, embrace your creative side. It's been so long since I've had to cite anything that I had to Google how to do it, so here you go, here's my citation, you're welcome. Know that every child has a unique set, nope, that's truncation. It's a beautiful warm day outside and everyone is off on their Sunday drives, which is great, except for when I'm trying to film. At least $60. It's a huge paragraph. It's this little bit down here, and all of this. Oh my word. And even from the little, when I yell at myself, I actually get things done. And on to the peanut gallery. How I long for the days when I had to just work around my dad's weed whacking schedule.